Everyone's in debt. So, who's the creditor? Think about this for a second. America owes $38 trillion, Japan $9 trillion, Europe $14 trillion, oil-rich Saudi Arabia is in debt, Germany is in debt, China is in debt. So, everyone's in debt. Which means we have to ask, who exactly is the creditor? When I first sat with this question, it stopped me cold. Because the deeper you go, the stranger the answer gets. And trust me, it gets very strange. Let's go back to the beginning. National debt wasn't invented on Wall Street. It was born on a battlefield. England is at war with France and running out of gold. The king goes to merchants and says, "Lend me money, and when I collect taxes, I'll pay you interest." They agree. The Bank of England is created to manage this arrangement, and that moment changed everything, because now the state could spend money it didn't yet have. France copied it, the Netherlands refined it, America used it to finance its independence. Debt stopped being a sign of weakness. It became a sign of power. If you could borrow, you could govern. Empires used to conquer land to extract gold. Now they issued bonds to extract interest. The battlefield became the balance sheet, so where does the money go? Let's start with the U.S. Of that $38 trillion, roughly half is owed to outside investors. 2/3 of those investors are American, in banks, pension funds, insurance companies, the Federal Reserve itself. The remaining third is in foreign hands. Japan leads with around $1 trillion. China follows with $800 billion. America owes China. Technically true, but that's only about 2% of the total. America mostly owes itself. The Treasury issues bonds. American banks and funds buy them. The Fed buys them back, creating new dollars. Americans pay taxes that cover the interest, which flows back into American retirement accounts. It's a circular mirror. The debt is real, but the creditor is mostly a reflection of the same system. A global poker table. This loop isn't uniquely American. The whole world works this way. Japan holds U.S. treasuries. The U.S. lends to Europe through the IMF. Europe extends credit to developing nations through the World Bank. Those nations park their reserves in Western bonds and lend it right back. A poker table where every player borrowed their chips from the person next to them. The only rule keeping the game alive: nobody stands up. The real power isn't with governments. It sits in the markets. Hedge funds, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds. They decide which countries borrow cheaply and which pay a premium just to survive. When confidence breaks, currencies collapse, and economies get rewritten overnight. Democracy decides who governs. Markets decide who survives. The secret nobody talks about: governments are not planning to pay back their debt. Not now, not ever. This isn't a conspiracy, it's policy. When you or I take a loan, we repay the principal. Governments don't work that way. They issue new bonds to pay off old ones. Keep rolling it over. Interest becomes the actual product, the rent charged for stability. The U.S. will never pay off $38 trillion. It will refinance forever. Japan has been doing this for decades, debt now exceeding 250% of GDP. Interest rates stay near zero. Investors aren't waiting to be repaid. They're waiting to renew the deal. Why? Because government bonds are the safest collateral in existence. Pension funds hold them. Banks use them as security. Central banks treat them like money. And here's the uncomfortable part. If the U.S. actually paid off all its debt, it would be a disaster. The dollar supply would shrink, deflation would follow, markets would collapse. Paying off the debt would destroy the very thing that makes the economy function. The system depends on the debt never being repaid. Really sit with that. The real issue. We owe it to ourselves is only half true. Interest payments don't flow equally through society. They flow upward, from taxpayers and workers to the institutions and investors holding the debt. Debt isn't just a transfer between countries, it's a transfer between classes. That's why global inequality and global indebtedness rise together. The system rewards those who own debt and punishes those who merely pay it. Same story, just scaled up. From households to nations, from nations to the planet. One last thing. There's no single face to blame at the top of this system. Not China, not Wall Street, not the IMF. All of them, and us. The modern financial system turned debt itself into money. The line between debtor and creditor has blurred beyond recognition. Debt used to mean bondage. Today it means balance. But if that balance ever breaks, if confidence cracks, we'll remember what debt really is, a promise that can't be kept forever. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.